But he's punching him though.
This is Officer Michael Amiott of the Euclid Police Department pummeling 25-year-old Richard Hubbard III during a routine traffic stop, in which Richard didn't so much as raise a hand against him. This video was posted online and went viral, eventually leading to Officer Amiott being fired from his job and found guilty of assault and interfering with Richard's civil rights. And yet, as of March of this year, he now has his job back and has managed to get away with just a slap on the wrist. So how did this happen? How is it possible for a convicted police officer to get his badge back? What part of the system failed? This series of events started in August of 2017 when Officer Amiott's colleague radioed about the silver Hyundai. He said that the driver had made prolonged eye contact while driving and that the vehicle looks fun. So Officer Amiott proceeded to pull over the Hyundai, which had been driven by Richard, who at the time had his girlfriend in the passenger seat. When Richard told the officer that he didn't have his ID on him, he was then asked to step out of the car. As he does, Officer Amiott instructs him to turn around and face the vehicle. What happened next is an egregious display of police brutality.
All right, step up. Face away from me. Face away from me.
Now that this violent exchange started less than 2 minutes after the officer made initial contact, and within mere seconds of Richard stepping out of the vehicle. As he's being slammed into the cement, Richard's girlfriend then gets out of the car and begins to plead for de-escalation of the situation. At this point, a woman, who's a lifelong citizen of Euclid, pulled out her phone to record a video that would eventually make national headlines.
Oh my God. But he's punching him though.
He's a pusher. He's a police person.
Amiott later claimed that he had to repeatedly punch Richard in the face, saying, "It's concerning when his hands are on my belt. It's concerning to me. So that's why the strikes are thrown." But as the situation unfolds, we see Officer Amiott continue punching Richard, even while he's using his arms to cover his face. And again, while Richard's on his stomach being handcuffed. Then, inexplicably, Officer Amiott gestures at Richard's girlfriend, and another officer proceeds to force her onto the pavement and arrest her as well.
Oh wow. Why is he still punching him though?
Richard was charged with resisting arrest, and so was the girlfriend, who was also charged with disorderly conduct and allowing an unlicensed driver to operate her car. All the charges were eventually dropped. Following the release of this video, Officer Amiott was suspended for 15 days without pay, which were then extended an additional 30 days. During that time, the mayor of Euclid launched a formal investigation, eventually announcing that Officer Amiott was being terminated from the police force. Unfortunately, it was a decision that wouldn't last. The attention generated by the video also resulted in additional accusations of Officer Amiott's misconduct emerging, like the fact that he was forced to resign from a neighboring police department in 2013 for lying about why he stopped a driver. He was also caught on tape throwing a 16-year-old girl to the ground and placing a knee on her back to retrieve her ID in a public library after she refused to show it.
You're not touching my bag.
Listen, where's your ID?
You're not touching
Can you get it out of your bag?
No,
Can you get it out of your bag?
my mother will get it on my bag.
We're gonna take it out. So just don't move.
You cannot touch my fuck. Bro, what the fuck is you doing?
Here, just lay her down. You wanna lay her down? Yeah.
I swear to God.
On the floor. Lay down.
And in 2017, he was accused of kicking a man in the face, pepper spraying him, and that was eventually had to be settled out of court for $40,000. So hopefully, this would finally be the time he paid the price for his misconduct, and for a brief moment, it appeared so. Following an investigation, Officer Amiott was eventually arrested, and he was charged in August of 2019. And 3 years later, a jury found him guilty of assault and interfering with Richard's civil rights. In response to the jury verdict, Richard pleaded for the judge to give Amiott the maximum sentence possible.
My name is Richard Hubbard, and I appreciate the jury and the court for making the right decision. What Amiott did to me was wrong. I'm still going through the suffering with the anxiety, driving, just the temperament, the trauma, and everything. Just a cause mistake. Just coming back in here, bring up everything. I hope you get the maximum sentence in the day, Your Honor.
But all the charges against him were first-degree misdemeanors. And when the judge finally sentenced him in March of 2023, 8 months after he was found guilty, Officer Amiott only received a year of probation and a $1,000 fine. Perhaps even worse is that during this time, the arbiter who was reviewing the decision to terminate Officer Amiott and the appeal of the police union, he reinstated Officer Amiott to the force. The decision to do so was handed down in October of 2018, 1 year after Officer Amiott had been fired. In response, the mayor released a statement saying, "I believe that Patrolman Amiott's termination was warranted, but the union exercised their right to appeal the discipline. The arbiter did not agree with the city's position and ordered that the Patrolman Amiott be reinstated." Fortunately, he was put into an administrative role where he couldn't pummel any more citizens of Euclid and is currently assigned to the department's warrant unit. Still, a convicted criminal is on the police department's payroll, despite their best efforts to fire him, and he has managed to avoid facing any serious consequences for his violent behavior. Thanks to the police union protecting even the worst of its members, victims of the police brutality go without justice. If there is any justice in this situation, it's that Richard received a $450,000 settlement from the city of Euclid as compensation for the savage beating he endured. Luckily, he didn't suffer any permanent injuries, though he did speak out about the psychological impact that the incident had on him. Richard Hubbard expressed gratitude for the jury's verdict in the criminal case, but ultimately feels like the system failed him, saying, "We could have sent a message, a real message, like getting the jail time." Just because justice wasn't served in this case doesn't mean you shouldn't fight for it. If you believe your civil rights have been violated by the police and would like to file your own lawsuit, try to get compensation and justice, contact me for a free case consultation at 888-SUE-CITY. That's 888-783-2489. Remember, if I don't win your case, you don't pay me a dime. And if you don't want to see a case of police brutality that did end with the officer getting fired and stayed fired, watch my video about 30-year-old Tyler Canaris, who was on his way to work one morning when he was stopped by police officer Michael Amiott because he matched the vague description of someone who was breaking into cars. Without provocation, Officer Amiott picks Tyler up and body slams him into the pavement, resulting in a ruptured eardrum, a broken collarbone, and a traumatic brain injury. I'll include a link to that video here. Click to watch it next and find out how Tyler got justice.